Okay, let's unpack this. When we first looked at these records, what we found about women owning property and running businesses centuries ago was genuinely surprising. Seriously, when you think about women's rights in, say, the 16th century, what comes to mind? Probably not a woman in a bustling Ottoman city like Aintab, renting out her shop, collecting the rent, and then get this, successfully suing her tenant for unpaid dues. She won, legally. Her name is right there on record, signature, and everything. It really makes you rethink things.
It absolutely does, and that's precisely the mission of this deep dive. We're going to explore just how widespread and frankly normal this was. We're challenging those common assumptions about Muslim women's historical, legal, and economic standing by looking, directly at the sources. And what these records show us is that this wasn't some rare exception. It was a distinctive and active feature of the legal and economic landscape back then.
Right. So if we're talking about this level of agency for women back in the 16th century, that feels incredibly early compared to many other parts of the world. Where did these rights even originate? How far back do they actually go?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Islamic law, Sharia, granted women the legal right to own, inherit, buy, sell property, starting as early as the 7th century.
The 7th century.
Yes. To put that in perspective, that's over 1,000 years before European women had similar legally recognized rights.
Wow.
The Quran itself, in chapter 4, verse 7, states quite clearly, "For men is a share of what their parents and close relatives leave, and for women is a share." So it's explicit. And this wasn't just, a theoretical concept tucked away in a book. Courts actively applied it. They enforced it in practice.
But the real weight of this, for me anyway, comes from the concrete proof.
All right.
Okay, so the theory's there, but like you always say, the devil's in the details. What do these court documents really reveal when you dig in? Were there specific cases that, jumped out at you?
Oh, definitely. If you look at the actual court registers, the Sithal from Aintab in the 1500s, you find hundreds of legal cases involving women. Hundreds.
Hundreds, okay.
And these aren't abstract figures. They're detailed records. Women suing for unpaid dowries, actively dividing inheritance with their siblings, renting houses to men, lending money with proper contracts, hiring workers, and yes, even suing their husbands for mistreatment or for divorce.
Really? Suing husbands?
Absolutely. And it's crucial to note, these weren't just the elite, the sultanas or wives of high officials. Many were ordinary townspeople, widows, merchants, farmers' daughters. They were using the legal system actively for their daily lives.
That's compelling. So it wasn't just about sorting out legal disputes then. It sounds like they were very active economic players. But was it just managing a bit of personal property or something more substantial? What kinds of businesses or investments were they actually involved in?
Oh, absolutely more substantial. In major cities across the Ottoman Empire, think Istanbul, Cairo, Aleppo, Sarajevo, women actively owned vakaf.
Vakuf.
Yeah.
Right, those are charitable trusts.
Exactly, like endowments that generate income. They were renting out homes and shops they own, running their own businesses, everything from textile shops to bathhouses. They bought agricultural land. They even financed construction projects.
Wow. Financing construction?
Yes. Consider Fatima in Aleppo, a widow. She funded an entire mosque renovation using profits from her rental properties. She submitted all the paperwork herself, registered the contract with the court, appointed her own administrator, full control.
Okay.
Or take Honey in Cairo. She lent significant sums of money to male merchants, collected the repayments interest-free, as per Islamic finance rules, and the judges enforced her rights when needed. This shows a level of financial sophistication and control we rarely associate with women of that era.
That's incredible. It almost sounds, almost too progressive for the time period many of us picture. Were there still societal or cultural limitations, though, despite these financial freedoms? Or was it a truly unfettered economic landscape for them?
I mean, let's be clear. It wasn't a utopia. Patriarchy certainly existed, like everywhere else. But the key point is that legally and economically, the mechanisms were there. The tools were available. And speaking of financial tools, let's talk about the dowry for a second.
Right, the dowry.
When we hear dowry today, it often brings up images of the bride's family paying the groom, sometimes leading to terrible exploitation.
Yeah, exactly.
But the mahr, the Muslim dowry, how is that different, and what did it actually mean for women?
Well, that's a critical distinction. The mahr was, frankly, a game changer because it was paid by the groom directly to the bride herself, not her family.
Oh, okay. To her.
To her. It wasn't just some gift passed between families. It was her legal financial cushion, her property. She had full independent control over it. She could invest it, save it, or, and this is important, If her husband failed to pay it, maybe it was deferred. She could absolutely take him to court to enforce that right.
So it was legally enforceable completely. And women frequently used their mar to buy property, maybe start a small business, or even set up one of those whack things in their own name. This gave them significant economic leverage, both within the marriage and, importantly, if the marriage ended in divorce. It was a built-in safety net and an investment vehicle, really.
Okay, that makes a huge difference. So if they're running businesses, investing their mar,
Yeah.
were they actually visible in the marketplace? Or was their economic activity kind of confined to the home, hidden from public view, as some stereotypes might suggest?
No, not hidden at all, actually. Historical accounts clearly show women selling goods right there in market stalls. They worked in textile shops, ran home-based industries, weaving, cooking, perfume making, but they were interacting economically in public. In places like Istanbul's main Sultanahmet market, women traders operated under their own names. We see it in the records.
Under their own names.
Yes. They recorded their tax payments. They worked openly without needing male guardians hovering over them to represent them economically. And crucially, they were taxed, inspected, and even fined the exact same way as male traders.
The same rules applied.
Exactly, which points to them being regulated, recognized workers within the system, not hidden figures at all. Their economic presence was acknowledged, structured.
This sounds like remarkable legal autonomy as well, then. Going back to the courts, did they need a male relative, a guardian, to represent them? Or could a woman just walk into court and handle her own affairs, just like a man would?
This is such a pivotal point. In the Ottoman system, women did not need a man to represent them in court. Full stop.
Really?
Really, they could file lawsuits themselves, present their own evidence, they could cross-examine witnesses, they could appeal verdicts. Judges were specifically expected to rule based on the evidence presented, not on the gender of the person standing before them.
Regardless of gender.
Yes. That principle of individual legal standing, it's powerful and often overlooked. We even have that specific case from Aintab back in 1550. A woman named Zainab. She sued her own brother because he was hiding part of her inheritance.
Okay.
She came to court, she presented 2 witnesses and a written will, and the judge ruled entirely in her favor. Her name, her claim, her win, all explicitly recorded right there in the court book.
That case was Zainab.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really brings it to life. It's not abstract anymore. So what does this all mean then? Why don't we hear more about this? It feels like this incredible history has been largely forgotten or maybe even deliberately obscured somehow.
Well, that's a crucial and complex question. A big part of the answer lies in colonial narratives. When European powers took over many Muslim regions in the 19th and 20th centuries, they imposed new legal codes, often based on French or British models.
Right, the colonial period.
Exactly. And these new codes frequently dismantled or sidelined the existing Sharia courts, especially for commercial and property matters. They severely restricted women's legal standing in many areas and systematically placed economic control primarily in male hands, reflecting European norms of the time.
So wait, women actually lost rights?
That's the bitter irony, yes. In many cases, Muslim women lost legal and economic rights under colonial law that they had actually held and exercised under Islamic law for centuries. And unfortunately, many modern legal reforms in these regions haven't fully restored those historical rights, especially where Islamic law got pushed only into family law, separate from economic life. It was a conscious restructuring, really, that sidelined centuries of legal precedent.
That's a powerful and often overlooked consequence of colonialism. Wow. And crucially, this wasn't just happening in the Ottoman Empire, was it? You mentioned Cairo, Aleppo. But did it extend beyond that region, or was this kind of an Ottoman phenomenon?
Oh, no, it wasn't isolated at all. The kind of economic and legal agency we're talking about shows up right across the Muslim world. It seems to be a widespread pattern.
Oh. Where else?
Well, look at Muslim West Africa. In cities like Timbuktu, Kano, other big Sahelian centers, Muslim women were deeply involved in trade colonnettes, cloth. They managed livestock, owned farmland.
So similar patterns there, too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
In Hausa society, for instance, you had elite Muslim women known as the Zaras. They had their own trading chambers, financed huge caravans, hired men as their agents.
Hired men as agents.
Yes. And even European traders traveling there in the 1800s wrote about it. They documented Hausa and Tuareg women negotiating prices, controlling markets effectively. So it's a consistent thread, really, across very diverse cultures and geographies united by Islamic legal frameworks.
It's striking how this history just overturns so many common assumptions, isn't it? When you think about our current conversations, around women's rights and economic empowerment today, How does knowing this past change things? Does it shift our perspective or challenge current narratives?
I think it does, profoundly. But it's vital to be clear. This isn't about romanticizing the past. Patriarchy, social restrictions, abuse, those absolutely existed, just like everywhere else. Not every woman was wealthy or could easily access her rights.
Sure, of course.
However, what this history shows us is that legally and economically, the Islamic framework provided women with concrete tools. Tools to protect their assets, assert their rights, and crucially, many women actively use these tools. Women like Zainab suing her brother, Honey Annie lending money, Fatima funding a mosque. They weren't passive victims waiting for permission. They were proactive. They used the system. They showed up in court. They knew their rights, and they claimed them. And they were doing this 500 years ago. It demonstrates a historical agency that's just so often ignored or denied today.
This has been, well, truly an eye-opening deep dive, uncovering this history of women's agency that challenges so many preconceptions. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, and maybe this raises an important question for you, the listener, to reflect on. The next time someone claims Muslim women were always passive, always silent, always shut out of public life, point them towards a dusty court book in Aintab or Istanbul or Timbuktu, because in it you'll find a woman's name, her property, her case. And very often a judge's verdict written clearly in her favor.
Yeah.
Miss Usri didn't actually hide her. Maybe we just stopped looking.